Well, good afternoon. I'll call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is establish a quorum, which we have done. Do we have any guests today? Hi, you're a guest, huh?
Thank you.
So we have a CDOT visitor who maybe you're going to be talking to us later. Great. We'll look forward to it.
So I should be on the meeting and so should one of the engineers to go through the projects for you that we missed covering last month.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up is consent items, the agenda and the minutes. They can be acted upon as a whole, as long as we don't have any discussion. So do I have a motion to accept the current agenda and the minutes from the prior meeting?
Willing Clark, I motion that we accept the agenda and as written and the minutes as written.
Second by Gary Sugar.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries. Do we have some public comments?
We do not have any public comments received prior to the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 4A, we have an information item update on the CAC vacancies. So take it away,
Yes.
Danielle.
Thank you. And we didn't put together a memo for this, just a quick update. We do have some CAC vacancies that are going through the process. The City of Colorado Springs City Council is going through the process of hopefully appointing some folks to their vacancies. The City of Fountain is as well. Woodland Park has had a vacancy announcement. So they're also potentially going through that process. We also had someone reach out to us regarding the open Teller County spot. So that one may be filled as well. And we've also reached out to NEPCO and have not gotten response back yet. So that's still one that we're chasing. Is there any other spots or any other questions you have on the CAC vacancies?
I see you have Alma, Callahan, Fairplay, Victor, Cripple Creek, and Teller County, all open seats. And so those are all the ones you're reaching out to.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Any comments or questions on that? Spread the word.
Please.
Okay, now when we have some action items. Action 5A is the officer elections for next year.
Yes. So we do have officer elections for next year. We did send out some information about the roles and responsibilities of the officer positions. So the way that this works is we do each officer position separately. So we'll start with the chair. We'll ask for nominations from the CAC, and then we will move to a vote and a motion for that seat. And then we will move to first vice chair and then second vice chair.
So in the past, you had a nominating committee. We're not going to do that this time around,
We are not, just due to time and efficiency.
considering it has to be done by the end of the year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess what we're asking for is just people to volunteer.
Yes, at this point, what we're asking for are nominations for the chair position.
Okay, and am I term limited out or something?
Is it your second?
I can't remember. I think this is my second year, but
If
time
it's-
flies.
If it's your second year, you can't be in that officer position in another term.
And to be honest, I can't remember. So I don't know.
That's what my paperwork says, but
Yeah, well,
I
I believe
haven't
your
been-
paperwork because Yeah. If your paperwork says so, then I guess I won't nominate myself to keep on keeping on. So any volunteers to take over my job?
Yeah, I was ready to nominate.
Well, and I would have done it too. And I just couldn't remember how long I've been doing it. Okay.
Understood.
So, well then Ed, why don't you volunteer? Nobody wants to
We probably
volunteer.
have someone else.
Whoops, I didn't hear
Is
that.
there anyone else that would like to do it? I think that's the direction to go at
Yeah.
this point.
So do we have a volunteer to be basically the chair, and the duties are so easy. You just show up on time and run the meeting. Nobody's volunteering. Let's see who's here on time. You guys are always here on time. You can run the meeting. How
My
about you?
question is, I know Welling's a new member, but are you Welling?
Are you willing, Welling?
Ed asked me if I'd be interested in the first.
Should ask.
Yeah. I've been on the CAC before, but I haven't been on it for a while, so I'd be very rusty. I would welcome if someone else who has been on this would be interested in doing that.
How about Carol Campbell? Are you on, Carol? I thought I saw Carol Campbell's name on there.
She was on. I wonder if she dropped off.
So Carol she'd been I think one of the officers before. I think she was second vice chair before. Oh, okay. So
This is.
yeah, we expire. We just self-combust, and well, no wonder. Let's see. I'm looking at the list.
Yeah, if you can't find anyone else, I can do it, but I'm currently chairman of the Emergency Service Authority for a few more months, and I'd hate to duplicate the effort.
Well, how about you go ahead? Gwen. Yeah, that was Ed, right?
Hey, Ed, deal. Nobody listen to what I'm going to say. You run for chair. I will be your first vice chair as when you called me asking me about that. Sound good? Nobody heard that, just you and me.
And so, because the job of the first vice chair is just to sub for when the chair's not there.
I did not hear anything Welling said. I'm sorry.
But that was someone else. I'm looking to see who's on until 25. That'll give us a little. So Chris Crockett expires in 25. Welling Clark expires in 2025. And she's here in person. She expires in, see, now you're official. Remember, you had a hard time getting them to approve you again. Yeah, they didn't realize they had to do it.
Okay.
So how about you, Ann? Do you want to run the meetings or be a sub? No, she's shaking her head. Dang it.
No, thank you.
Nikki McDonald expires on 2025 and Ed Dill expires 2025.
This is Patty Bender. I think Terry Hayes would also be a great addition to leadership of this. As vice chair for 2022, I believe I ran the meeting twice.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a very heavy lift, I promise. And my term is also expiring. Otherwise, I would be willing to be chair, but
So who did you name?
Patty Bender.
No, I mean, not who. Sorry, not
Terry
who you-
Hayes.
Terry Hayes.
Yes.
Who do you-
And Terry's probably going to kill
named
me.
Me, Patty. My challenge is with my schedule is I feel like the chair should be able to be there in person, but now I'm usually just calling in.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been there in person since probably pre-COVID, which has worked out well. I come from Monument and my schedule's gotten super
Mhm.
busier up here, so it's a haul for me. But thanks, Patty, anyway. And plus, I thought I was going off at the end of next year.
Yeah, you're November, Terry is November 2023.
And officers are annual. We redo
Mhm.
officers every year. So as
So-
long as someone doesn't expire in May, that they would be able to serve at least one full year.
Mhm. Let's see, the other El Paso, Taniza Sultana. She expires in May of 24. She's in El Paso, like me.
Yeah.
Oh, did I hear something? Hi, Ed. Keep talking,
Hey,
Ed.
I was going to say, I spoke with Tony about being a vice chair or second, and she said her schedule was difficult this upcoming year. So odds are she probably would say no, but I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know, but she wasn't too interested in vice chair. Put it that way.
Really?
Would
our
she be
duties are
interested in
just running
chair?
the meeting. It's easy as pie. Okay, why don't we draft Welling? Because he's here every time on time.
Even with 2 notices today.
Yeah, he almost was an hour. So really, this is just about running the meeting as far as I can tell. I know we're all volunteers. Well, we have a new attendee. What's your name? Sheila Williams. Ooh, well, congratulations. Sheila's here. She's from Citizen at Large. Are
Oh,
you
good.
interested in running the meetings, Sheila? You came in late. We'll assign you something.
Time, but thank you very much.
Okay, well, maybe.
Well, for the sake of
um,
moving us on, I can.
Okay, how about that? Ed can do it and you can run the meetings from Zoom.
Well, I don't have a problem coming in most of the time. Today, because of the weather situation, I needed to stay out and work with the cattle. But fortunately, that doesn't happen every month at the same time.
Okay, so do we have a motion to nominate Ed Dills as, when does this start, in January?
Yes.
So January start as the chair of the meetings.
Welling
And you'd
Clark,
be
I
available to
motion.
help, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Welling Clark, I motion that Ed Gills be nominated for position of chair starting next year in January.
Patty Benger, I'll second that.
Poor Ed, he's getting drafted here. All those in favor? No, I'm not allowing any discussion. So
And
are the
current
nominations
chair
are closed?
Promises to help, correct?
Nominations.
Oh, there's Carol. Well, I almost want to say any other nominations. We still have 2 more open positions.
This is good.
Okay, so the nominations are closed. All those in favor for Ed Dill to run the meetings starting next year?
Aye.
I
No opposed or any opposed? That was a Freudian slip.
Abstain.
Thank you, Ed. And thank you so much for stepping up. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's easy lift.
Well, I'll be
Patty
sure to
Ben-
call you if I need some help.
No problem. So Patty, you had something?
I would like to make a motion to make Welling Clark the first vice chair.
You are trying to get out.
So we have that motion. Do I have a second?
I will second Ed Dills.
Any other nominations? Okay, I would say the nominations are closed. All those in favor of Welling Clark being the second vice chair? All those in favor say aye.
I
Or first,
First
second.
vice chair.
First vice chair. Everyone says aye. We're all friends here.
Abstain.
He's being official. Okay, now we have to have
Second
second
vice chair.
vice chair.
That's the backup to the backup.
The backup to the backup, who I don't know has been called on in the last year. So
No.
But you never know. you never know. Ed and Welling just might skip town and we be ready.
I
Okay,
will volunteer for that one.
so who's out? Who's that, Terry?
Terry Hayes, yeah. Hopefully,
thank
if
you.
someone can't be there, I can get enough notice and I can drive down there.
Okay, great.
I'll second that.
Well, you got to be someone has to first nominate her or,
I thought it was a self-nomination. I'm sorry.
oh, okay. Well, I guess that could be true, huh? Okay. And so we have nomination and second, all those in favor of, any discussion? No? All those in favor of Terry Hayes being the second vice chair?
Aye.
Starting in
Aye.
January.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, thank you all very much. Did you get all that, Danelle?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think between Jared and Cheryl and I, we're good.
You documented
But
it.
thank you very much. All
See,
for
so who needs
volunteering.
a nominating committee? We can just take care of this. So that means we took care of 5A, huh? So
Yes.
next on the agenda is 5B, TAC organization membership.
Yes.
You have something to say.
So when we updated the bylaws in 2019, we I believe added this clause that we're asking the organizations to reapply for membership after 2 terms. So in this case, the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region has been a member for several years, and they are appointing a new member. So we have asked them to reapply basically for a membership an organizational membership. So we have up to 5 seats on the CAC for community-based organizations. I think right now we have 3 organizations who have asked for seats. And so this is just the League of Women Voters has applied to continue their membership. Ms. Roars, would you like to say anything? Is she still on? I don't see her.
She's on, but doesn't look like she's unmuted.
Okay.
So action item 5B, what we're looking for is, I guess, a motion to recommend that the Board of Directors approve the League of Women Voters of the Pikes Peak region to be a voting member of the CAC.
Yes.
So can someone please make that motion?
I move that the League of Women Voters be a member. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Ann.
Welling Clark, I second.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Welling Clark.
After
only
the vote, may
discussion-
I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay.
Mhm.
I will say in my limited time here in about 4 or 5, whatever meetings, all the entities that have been represented by the League of Women Voters, Kono and others, they've always been here and been supportive, either physically or online.
And have always contributed in great ways. So I'm all for it too. So you wanted to ask your question after the vote, right? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Say aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we had a question.
It was me, Ed Dills. What I was wondering about is if it's possible to get a copy online or something of the bylaws. I'm not sure what constitutes the community groups like the League of Women Voters, which I'm glad we have them, but I'd just like to be a little better informed.
Yes, absolutely. The bylaws are online, but I will send them to you.
Okay.
Yeah, send them
Okay,
to
thank you.
the whole team. Yeah,
Absolutely.
great. Thank you very much. That'd be great. Okay. Next up is 5C. Fiscal year 23-27 Transportation Improvement Program, Amendment number 4. Love to hear that. So take it away.
Okay. All right, so there's three parts to this tip amendment. The first part of this tip amendment adds project funding according to the CDOT spreadsheet. You saw this last week or last month rather. And we are bringing it back to you with CDOT support to answer any questions you might have about those specific projects and funding amounts. The second piece to this tip amendment is that there was a duplicate project in our ETIP system. We're just getting rid of that redundancy. Normally we would do that administratively, but because it's one of these projects that is affected by other funding, we're including it in this tip amendment. And then finally, there's one additional change. And there's a letter in your packet to detail this request. And again, it's from CDOT. But basically, there are removing some funding from a US 24 mobility safety improvements project. They're removing $500,000. And it's anticipated that that funding will be covered by other projects along US 24. So they're not anticipating that to be detrimental to that project in the long run. They're then moving that project money to a signal replacements project. So there's 3 different signals that will be replaced in that project. State Highway 21 at Palmer Park, State Highway 21 at Constitution, and then State Highway 24 at Academy Loop. And there's also some additional signal pool funding that is getting shifted within that project that the net effect is a decrease of a little less than $50,000. But they're just shifting some funds out of that project and pulling in some funds from a project that has been completed. So those are the 3 elements of the tip amendment. I can answer some questions. However, CDOT Wendy Pettit is online, and Jason Nelson is here in the room to answer questions regarding the STIP additions on the spreadsheet on page 12 of the packet.
Do you want to come up to the podium?
Yeah.
I don't know if that means you'll be on the screen or not. Sure. Mhm.
Welling Clark, El Paso County. I just want to thank the CDOT representatives for being present. Last month, there were questions that came up that could not be answered. And I really appreciate you having your time and effort down here so we can get you in and get you out. But it is appreciated. Thank you.
Oh, I pushed every other button besides. Okay.
So ultimately, we're looking for a motion for approval of this amendment. So now's your chance to ask CDOT people all your questions so that at the end of the discussion, we can decide if we want to approve it or not.
Okay. Welling Clark, El Paso County. Remembering what was asked last time, and that probably can be answered now, is I would just like to go through some of the special ones where something that stands out as a red flag to me, and I think would stand out as to an elected official.
Okay.
Let's see, where I see total cost of project increase 6.5%. To me, that's not an issue, maybe for some others. But I'm going down to let's see, passing lanes. No change. I have no questions with that. 21st or Palmer. There is, no change. That's fine. It's when I see a change like moving to the scheduling for the 21st at Palmer and Park Constitution at 24 Loop. I see a 75% increase, and I take it that is the new traffic lights going in.
Yeah.
A slight change.
So we're doing mostly signal improvements, but we're also doing kind of an operational improvement on Constitution and 21. We're going to extend the ACEL turn lane going southbound.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm looking at the next one coming down. It's the adaptation to amendment for US 24 East Mobility. I'm just trying to put these together from what I took notes last time. It has 160% increase in cost. And I was just curious what that entails, something new, but there was no documentation. And could you help us with that, sir?
Sure. So on tip amendment, I have it here. It's ID number 2021-047. That's the 500,000 for RPP in the tip.
Mhm.
And so what we're proposing to do is use that funds, but the good saving grace here is we already have quite a few design projects on the ground and off the way that would have used those funds. And specifically, we're talking about, I lost my glasses here. It's catching up to me. It is. We are going to do, so part of those funds, we're going to go towards realigning Judge Orr at US 24. And so if you look, one intersection to the west is what they call Blue Gill. And so we're going to do some modifications there too. So that's a good project. We're also doing a surface treatment on US 24 from Falcon to west of Elbert Road. And then a passing lane project just east of Callahan. So that typically that 500,000 would be used to be kind of seed funds to get those projects going on, but we did find other funding. So the good news is they're already kind of on their way. So we're not losing any projects. We're just going to use that funds for a project that we think is really good.
I see. So, and in my terminology, I would just say you had initial projects and you're able to add money so you could actually have a full complete up project.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that okay? No,
That's a better way to say it.
okay. Well,
Sorry.
And
Okay.
those are desperately needed projects.
mhm. And then the adoption, or then the one for Highway 24 Falcon Highway to West Elbert is approximately 140%, 41% increase. I assume that's kind of the same thing where you have extra money you're adding on to the scope of the project to get it fully completed instead of partially completed. Is that a true statement?
I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure that's factual. I'll have to dig into that one.
Okay. No, it's whenever we see a large percent increase, the question is something changed, but there's no documentation onto the side. Why did that increase come about? That was what was raising questions last month.
Hey, Wendy, do you have information on that 140% increase?
I do not. I just gave them the information that Shane had sent to me. So in the letter is all the information I have.
Okay.
Is my letter somewhere where you can bring it up on the screen?
The letter for the
Tip amendment?
tip amendment is on page 13 of the PDF. Yes.
So basically, this is the information that Shane sent to me and between Matt and Shane. So, so I don't have anything about the percentages of the increase because they don't give me that math to be able to put into the document. So I'm not sure where that came into being, that there's, because if you go back and you look, I mean, we're adding the 500,000 for the awarding. We swapped out the new return money in 2023 for the funding that we had taken from the out year. So I don't know exactly where the figures came into be, because I don't have them here. So unless you have something, Jason, that tells them that, I don't know.
Wendy, I think what we're looking at was the, when we put these STIP additions into the ETIP gives you a percentage of the
okay.
increases.
Okay.
So that's where we're getting those
Okay.
percentages from.
Okay. I didn't know if someone else had other conversation with you, because, that could happen and
Sure.
it was happened to my knowledge. So, I think part of the issue that when we started working on this, and I think Jason can attest to this as well, one of the things that we've had happen is the fact that the equipment has had such a major increase in cost. So the poles and the lights and those type of improvements have just had a amazing cost increase. And in order to continue the work, once we get to a point where we're ready to buy these items, what we had in an engineering estimate does not necessarily allow us to move forward with purchasing the items. It's kind of like we budgeted money for a car and we were going to pay $20,000 for it. And then COVID happened and now the car's $35,000 and we're $15,000 short of being able to meet our goal. I mean, that's kind of the same situation that's kind of happened here. Jason, do you have anything else to add?
No, so there was, it was specifically the acceleration lane that we looked at. And it's an expensive lane because right on that west side of 21, there's kind of a ditch and a swell, and we didn't know it was loaded full of utilities. So our initial swipe at this project, we stayed away from that. It was something we really wanted to get done. Then our bids kind of came back and they were a big bust. So we had a second opportunity. And so instead of, kind of what you usually do, take away a project, we kind of scrambled some funds and we paid for those other improvements on 24 with other funding. And we're coming to you guys and saying, hey, we're going to make 21 a lot better, but we need this additional funds and it'll help balance everything out.
Yeah, the real question was where the US Highway 24G Falcon Highway to West Elbert, it said roadway preventative maintenance, and the total project cost, the very bottom line just said an increase of 140%. And so from like 4.3 to 10.4 million. And then I won't speak for the CAC, I'd speak for myself. If there could be a little description on the side of that, why was there an increase to, we could finish 100% of the lanes instead of 50%, or we did some other things added on that would justify that, because a cost like that by itself would raise a red flag with the elected officials we're supposed to pass this on to.
Right.
Okay.
And Wendy or Jason, can you talk a little bit about the STIP addition process, just the annual process of adding money to the STIP, just so everybody is aware of how that works?
Yeah, I'm an engineer. I'm not going to put my foot in the planners. I'll get in trouble.
Maybe that's a Wendy
That's
question.
a super windy question. Yeah,
Okay, so here's what I'm having some trouble with the internet this afternoon. So if you can't hear me, let me know. So annually, we have a process that we add our asset management projects and our RPP projects at the end of the calendar year for the next fiscal year, so that it goes through the process and it's adopted and it's put into place for the 1st of July. So what we're asking for here for the 24 to 27 editions, we have the RPP funds that are allocated to the PPACG area for fiscal year 27, which is the $800,000, and that goes into the US 24 corridor for a specific need and project as we move forward. The faster additions are projects that back in, I want to say probably 2020, we had to make a 2020, 2021, we had to make a reduction to some of the funds from the faster pool, because during COVID, we had we weren't buying cars, we weren't doing activities that actually put funding into the faster pool. So the funding that we would have normally expected to have was not there. So the state of Colorado requires us to be in balance, and so I couldn't have more projects programmed in your programs and your TIP than we actually had money to be able to put into being. So we had to make a reduction, and we did do that a few years back. And now this is reprogramming those funds that I took out a couple of years back. So that's where all the faster projects come back into play. And they've been adjusted for more current costs as well. So we've been working on putting together a more well-rounded list of realistic prices as well for what it's really going to cost to put things out to have a realistic project and not have to come back and ask for more TIP amendments. Same thing with the surface treatment process. The surface treatment process, and the bridge process, the Transportation Commission allows us to program the assets. They're a bit behind the rest of the programs. So we're in the process now of doing 25 fiscal year 25 projects for the asset management. So that's where these projects came from.
Okay, I understand that very well. And
Okay.
I'll just, for brevity, I'll skip some things. There's just one I just wanted to go over
Okay,
for a highlight.
sure.
And it's actually the project that is the Highway 115 Nelson Boulevard to I-25 improvements.
Okay,
And I was going down reading, okay, looks good. And then I look at it, the cost of the project increased from 350 to 2.2 million, to 8.2 million, which is a 2,268% increase. And to me, that implies either we were going to do partial with what we had, or we're adding money for the complete project. If we could add, and this would help me, if we could add a description of why the increase or the decrease in there, and is it increasing the scope to have a finished project or initial project? I think that would have solved a lot of the questions last month. So
I believe that specific project was previously just pre-construction funds, and now we've added the actual construction
Okay.
funds to that project.
right next to that 2,200% increase, if we had some text describing what that was, I think that'd go a long way.
No, yeah, if you knew it was design versus construction.
Right.
that
I didn't see the difference in there where it said design or construction, or it didn't jump out at me.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's
So-
And that was going to be my suggestion as well. I was pretty sure that was what the issue was, that we added construction funds.
Well, those were the issues I kind of remember. Everybody was having questions about why the sudden increase. Did we increase scope? Did we not plan it right? Or, what was going on? And we couldn't get any answers. And PPACG tried their best. I'll tell you, they really tried last month.
They're a
So
great partner.
I'm done with questions. Thank you very much.
Any others have questions? Yes, go ahead.
This is Patty Bencher. I think one of the things too that confused us last time was on the description of the project changes. It says description changed from, and it has a quote to, and it has a quote, but the quotes look exactly the same. So the language, so it indicates that description is changing, but there's no language change.
Still
Right.
missing the
So-
clues. and keys.
Yeah, so that would be helpful. That'd be another place you could also list some of those details.
In my industry, I work with engineers and physicists. We call that those that live by the cut, die by the paste.
Yeah. No, we have lots of information. We probably just trying to spare you guys, but I agree with you. Probably need more information. Makes sense.
Yeah, this is Gary Sugar. I've got a question on the I-25 project from Fillmore to Garden of the Gods. First of all, it looks like there's been a significant increase. It was running about 40 million. Now we're up to about 49 million. And the other question is, both the segments of I-25 to the north and south of that segment are concrete. Why is that segment not concrete? Why are we just going to use asphalt again?
No, it's a great question. There's quite a few parts to that question. So let me take on the budget part first, because I'm a little involved in that one. So when we do a project, specifically something interstate within the city, we partner with the city and local stakeholders. And so the city has investment interest in this and in getting some utilities, specifically conduit. And so the project scopes increase by partnering, which is typical and not expected. So we do have some increased costs to what we actually were going to do. And then in cost of materials, it has increased a little bit. So the second question is a really good one. And so CDOT, we do have a good partnership with the asphalt and concrete industry. So they do really hold us accountable on what we do select as a final payment. So we've kind of defaulted to a life cycle cost analysis, and everyone's happy with that. So you kind of put some numbers in there in the model, and it turns out what's the best for the taxpayers' dollars. And that's what we kind of utilize. So there is a difference. Sometimes you'll get those weird sections. I mean, even Mansip, we're going to have two different pavements right next to each other, but overall that was the best utilization of our funds. So it's kind of weird.
Any other questions? Are we getting close to being able to recommend approval? I guess so. All right. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of the fiscal year 23-27 TIP amendment number 4?
Welling Clark, El Paso County. I recommend approval based on the information provided by the CDOT representatives. And I wish to thank them for being here to explain the differences. And I think they know what they need to put in the documents in the future, so we don't ask dumb questions.
No, these are not dumb questions. They're really good questions. And, you know, if you empathize and try to wear the other person's shoes, it makes 100% sense. So
I just don't want my county commission to call me and say, why'd you approve this 2,000% increase on this project? What is it? And it's like, that doesn't go in the minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second, Ed Dills.
Okay. Roy Rosenthal, Manitou Springs, I second the motion.
Okay.
Good.
So we have 2 seconds. Any further discussion before we go for a vote? Think
Just to
so?
echo what Welling said, I'm grateful they were here to answer questions.
Yes, thank you both.
You're
All
quite
right.
welcome.
Go ahead, Wendy.
I just said you're quite welcome.
Oh.
You know, my problem with last month is that I was double booked, and so I couldn't be in both places at the same time. So I've apologized over and over to PPACG and staff for leaving them hanging. So I promise this won't happen again.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. All right. All those in favor of the motion to recommend approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the motion carries.
all right. Thank you, everyone. for your
Thank
time.
you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You didn't drive down from Denver.
No, I work in Pueblo and live in Spring. So.
Great. Okay, so then now we're at 5D. And I think that's now again.
It is. We brought this document to you several times in the past few months. This is the Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal years 22 and 23. And this is our second amendment to this document. So this document is basically a scope of work for our PPACG transportation group, showing how we are going to utilize our consolidated planning grant funds that are provided by the federal government. Our amendment 2 to this document primarily is to document some new activities that we can undertake in part due to getting some CDOT toll credit funding. And then there were some also some housekeeping items that we needed to update in this amendment as well. 2 months ago, we brought the document to you and asked that it be released for public comment. It was released for a month for public comment, and we did not receive any comments. So the document that you see today is the same as it was when we brought it for public comment, other than I think there was a typo or a minor wording issue that the board asked us to change. And at this time, if there's questions, I would be happy to answer them. If not, we are looking for a motion to recommend approval to the board.
So discussion, questions? Okay, no discussion really. So do we have a motion to recommend adoption of the fiscal year 22 and 23 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment 2?
This is Carol Campbell. I will move to approve as stated.
Thank
Patty
you.
Bencher, I'll second.
Thank you, Patty. Any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying an aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda, 5E. But we have a discussion on it. That is the congestion management process adoption.
It starts on page 106.
106 of our little handout.
Yes. Yes. When we add these documents, it becomes quite long, but we'd rather put them in the packets and then have them sitting on a server where people might not be able to access it. So we've kind of gone back and forth with what's best, but today your packet's long. So this is our congestion management process. Similar to the UPWP, we brought this document to the committees 2 months ago to open the public comment period. It was open for public comment and we did not receive any public comments. We did make some adjustments to the document based on comments that we received through the Transportation Advisory Committee, this committee and the board of directors. But essentially it is very similar to the document that was brought to you for public comment review in September. And basically the background on this document is that the CMP is really a first step toward our long-range transportation plan. Approval of this document will really allow us to move forward and really kick off our long-range transportation plan process. And this is a document that's required by federal regulations, and it kind of provides a base for all of our project sponsors to ensure that they have considered multiple alternatives for every project that they submit for our long-range transportation plan. So we have to make sure that it's not just, okay, we're going to build a brand new road, or we're going to add more lanes, or we're going to, every project really has to have multiple alternatives that are reviewed before it can go into the long-range transportation process. And this CMP document was developed in consultation with a private consultant. Some transportation experts in the region helped us with this. And it was also completed with our Transportation Advisory Committee. So we had a workshop, we had multiple iterations that went through that group because they are really the experts in how this document will impact them moving forward in the transportation process. And I'm happy to take any questions. And again, we are looking for a motion to recommend adoption by the board.
I've got a question.
Yes.
This is Ann. As I look through all this, I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but I live up in the mountains, and that area, the congestion and safety factors, will this help us to get in on the planning or help in some way? I don't know.
So some of the goals in the CMP are there's an initial scoring process put in here that will be used to eventually score the projects that are submitted for our long-range transportation plan. They're not the bottom line. We always take into consideration our jurisdictional equity and our experts' opinions and knowledge. But that is an element of the CMP. The CMP also provides a strategic toolbox for planners at the various jurisdictions for types of projects that they could look into for congestion or safety management. And then it also kind of identifies some of our strategic corridors that we need to look at when we move forward through our long-range transportation program or planning process.
I was just wondering, I know there's a lot of work on US 24 going east, but not much going west. And it's a major corridor over the mountains.
It is. And I know that that's been discussed quite a bit at board and at TAC.
So do we just keep kind of bringing it up and try to get it on the attention list? I had a meeting last summer in Woodland Park
Mhm.
and talked about this. Shane Ferguson was there and a lot of people and people from Cripple Creek, those kind of areas. So, just fixing the road itself or putting stripes on it for safety, those have worn away. So I just thought, well, I'll just bring it up again. I did one time, and then John was so nice. He set up a meeting with our town manager and the people in Woodland Park to talk about that particular little area that's growing so much too. We have a lot of traffic, more and more people. So I just thought, well, this might be something I could just say.
No, I appreciate that. I do know that US 24 is on CDOT's radar. I know I should have prefaced this at the beginning, but the congestion management process and the long range transportation plan, our transportation program really looks at our metropolitan planning organization area. So we have a smaller scope than PPACG as a whole. Green Mountain Falls is included in that. Yes. But just in case you're wondering why the map is different, that's why. But we are looking at hiring a consultant specifically for public participation for our long range transportation plan moving forward, and encouraging participation in all areas of our planning region. So I definitely think that's something that we appreciate, that we'll take back and make sure it's noted going forward that.
Well, that's good.
That's
I think
important.
a lot's happening, the tri-county study, those, it doesn't get any money done, but it's a basis for understanding. So, thank you.
Absolutely.
Welling Clark, El Paso County. I've gone through the document a couple of times. Two things I would like to bring up and address, because I was trying to get a handle on them. And the more I study them, the more confused I kind of got because of differences of information. The first one is there's been an effort in the city of Colorado Springs to do densification. And the road system was laid out with a certain density, units per acre. And if they go above that, concern I have is that's going to increase congestion because road network system can't handle it. And I would hope that the city is in communication with PPACG with regards to this plan, because it's all interwoven. Okay, good. And then there's talk of removing lanes, adding lanes. And one of the things I would like to see is if there's recommendations, what does this do for our mitigating congestion? And when I read down to it, page 143, the second to last paragraph is kind of the crux of what I'm seeing. Is the reason we avoid having congestion is because it takes more time to travel, makes our citizens not happy campers. And then also it increases greenhouse gases, GHG. This is where I started to try to get my handle around it and looking at the Senate bills. The goal was to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So roger that, I get that. That sentence, the last sentence says, however, when calculating GHG emissions, an off-peak trip will generate less emissions than a peak trip, but will still generate greenhouse gases or GHG. Working with engineers, I'm a math guy. I would welcome the chance to see if there's no congestion, what are we generating? And if there is congestion, what do we then generate? Because if it's 2% difference, is that worth the level of resources we put in there? I don't know. It's a trade space study, basically. And then I tried to do some study on greenhouse gases. And depending where you looked on the internet, you got different answers. And water was the biggest culprit. We can't get rid of water, or we won't be here. But the bottom line is I saw carbon shifting and I saw other things in there, and the variances varied between 6% to 20% of what caused it. And it's mostly, I know about the greenhouse gases, of raising temperature, absorbing energy and the frequency levels that generate heat and all. And so I was trying to get my handle around it, and I would welcome a definitive source that PPACG could send me to or a link to so I can look at that, because it depends who is talking about it. Their viewpoints and data is skewed to support their determinations, either pro or con. So that was the trouble I had with it. And I understand what's going on here and everything. And I would like to see if we could get down to, we're getting down to a certain level. And if we get to that level, what does it buy us from the standpoint, if we achieve this level, if the US achieved that level, if the world's caused, someone else in the world like China or India is causing pollution, if we do something, does it make a difference? And that's a big, tall question.
It is.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get I'm getting my head around it, but those were things I was trying to understand the mathematics of it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So
I like the document. Let me qualify that. Okay.
No, I appreciate that. I don't know how much CAC has heard about the greenhouse gas rulemaking and the modeling that is now going to be required as we move forward. But as part of our long range transportation plan process now, we're going to have to model based on 5-year bands. And we're going to have to meet certain greenhouse gas limits for that bands of development. And I am not the modeling expert. If CAC is interested in hearing more about that, we can certainly bring our GIS and modeling lead in to kind of give you a primer on how that's going to work. But I know we're still in the process of figuring it out ourselves. So.
I want to thank you very much. One of my skill sets is simulation modeling for systems for the next 40 years. I would welcome that. Some other people probably would not. And if it's possible, could we set up a alternate time for those that are interested to drop by and get educated with what PPACG has to do and how it does it?
Let me talk with John Leosados is our transportation director, and Will Mast is our GIS and modeling lead. Let me talk with them about what would be best and see what we can do.
Very good. Thank you.
And I'd be interested in if there was some little side meeting to look at what the process is. I'd be interested in that too. So you've got a couple people.
Yeah.
I know we've presented some to the board, but I don't know how much we've brought to CAC. So
Does that involve I happened to notice, and I didn't tune in, but at 1:00 there was an air quality committee meeting for PPACG.
there
Now,
is.
do they do that too?
It's related. So our air quality, our, and it has a specific name that I'm not remembering.
Your Air Quality Technical Committee.
Thank you, Jared.
And they are, and feel free to add on, they're really looking more at ozone and specifically with EPA.
Oh, just that.
Just because there are some, because Denver especially is going through this process right now, where if we've had a good ozone year for this past year, but as things go, could we potentially be looking at some problems with air quality? But they're really looking, while this is greenhouse gases, they're really targeting a lot on ozone specifically as part of that.
It's complicated because it seems like it should all go together, and sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't.
Good.
So
It's really.
Yes, and we're currently in attainment. The air quality group is really trying to focus on how do we maintain attainment, because once we are not in attainment, then there's a lot of repercussions to the region because of that. So that's right. They're tackling it from the perspective of ozone in particular.
That is true because I also, I'm an at-large member for PPRTA. And as our population increases, it used to just be Denver they worried about, but now it's us too. So. Okay.
Okay, on the table is we need to decide if we're going to recommend for the Board of Directors to adopt this congestion management process.
Could I ask, this is Chris Crockett with Kono. I just have a couple of questions. I do think it's a very informative brochure. It would be nice to have some of the details that were talked about earlier, but specifically, I have two questions. The first one is I noticed in the peer, see if I can tell what page this is, 166, the peer documents. It's, did we choose as our peers Central Oklahoma, North Central Texas, and I believe the capital area MPO might be the Austin, Texas area? Were those chosen as our peer areas because that's where this kind of work is being done, or are there real relations between various types of barometers between Pikes Peak area and these areas? And if so, what might they be? And then just sort of a note to whoever's doing this, the capital area MPO congestion management process, in trying to figure out what capital area we were talking about. I put that URL in my computer and it's dead. It's a dead URL. And the North Central Texas one has some sort of a glitch too. It gets me to North Central Texas, but not to that page. So that would be a quick comment and a question. And then the second one is the work that Kono is doing with the neighborhood networks, coming up with plans to help with the Colorado Springs municipal planning development program. The hot topic is always congestion. And I think this would be a document that would be very helpful to that group. At what point do you expect it to be live and able to be dispersed to other groups?
As soon as the Board of Directors approves it, it will be live. We'll put it on our website and it's free to be shared with anyone who might be interested. As far as the peer documents, and our consultant did help us with parts of this, so they may have some additional justification, but my understanding is that they are organizations that are doing similar things to what PPACG or what our jurisdictions would be interested in looking at, and of a similar size or comparable transportation network.
Population.
Interesting. Okay. Having driven through Austin, I'm surprised. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that information. And would it be possible for our group to be given a quick email when the document does go live, so we know that it's okay to send people to it?
Yes, absolutely. We will send you out that email and we'll send you the link to the updated version. We'll go in and update those links as well.
Thank you.
Well, in Clark, El Paso County, a quick question. When this does go live, I know some people will have questions. Will there be a feedback where they can ask the questions and get feedback and possibly provide update on the document?
I'm not sure about the
Update?
updates,
Okay, but feedback.
certainly feedback. Yep.
Okay, great.
Any other comments? Thank you all. Okay, do I have a motion to recommend the Board of Directors adopt this CMP?
Well, in Clark, I make a motion to adopt.
And do I have a second?
Second. Bill Bowles.
Thank you, Bill. Further comment? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion carries. And that was it. So next on the agenda is member discussion. Any member discussion? Yes, yay. Go ahead.
Patty Benger. A couple of things. I'm sure you have all heard that the Colorado Springs Utilities CEO has resigned and is moving back west to California to Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And so our acting CEO is Travis Steele. And so we are doing a national search to fulfill that role. And we're hoping to get that done in the first quarter prior to the election so that the experienced board members will have a say in that. Also wanted to mention that this Saturday is the parade, a Festival of Lights on Saturday, December 3rd at 5:30 downtown in Colorado Springs. Up to 40,000 people attend this, and it's a great fun place to see your community members and different organizations that are there. And then lastly, I just wanted to thank everybody. It's been a great term here, and I've really enjoyed my time with all of you and getting to know you a little bit, and all of your insights have really helped me grow. So thank you all very much.
So will the utilities be appointing someone else to be representative instead of you?
I'm actually a city of Colorado Springs.
Oh, a city.
representative.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm an
So-
employee at Colorado Springs Utilities. So there's definitely a connection there. I'm not sure. We actually, after my term is over, they'll have 3 vacancies
They will.
on this committee. So I will definitely encourage them to refill my position as well as the 2 others, but
That would
it's a long process.
Well, it's important to have a representative of the city and someone who can speak to the utilities. So we appreciated your contribution and hope that we can continue that connection.
Absolutely.
I'd like to also say that, and thank you, Patty, and agree
Yes.
that having someone from the utilities company, it would be so helpful because they understand it all with the roads and everything too. You know, that's very important. Water and so on.
Yeah, well, and Clark, I would like to amplify that. The West Side Avenue Action Plan, the majority of the cost was relocating utilities, especially we're into underground boulders. So I want to say thank you very much. Then I just want to let everybody know, I just brain damaged the name, but the former head of CDOT under then Governor Hickenlooper, I believe has just been appointed or has been nominated for the Federal Highway FHWA or I forget that organization. It's been a long day. But anyway, that's good news for Colorado, I hope. And if I get that information, I'll send it in to you, Danielle, and you can get out to everybody.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for multiple things.
Madam Chair, I'll just point out Ms. Roars has her hand raised in the Zoom room.
Well, I didn't see that. Please go ahead, Shelley.
Thank you so much. So my term is also expiring. This is my last meeting. This was one of the very first committees that I joined after joining the league, actually. Actually, it was the very first committee. I even joined this before my voter service team. So that's an interesting concept right there. But it definitely showed me a lot about my community. And thank you for all of the help from the PPACG staff. That it is definitely a process for us as community members. And what you send out is it's a lot of information in a timely manner. I know I've not always been the most diligent with regards to reviewing all of that, but there's so much stuff and it has truly been a blessing to be on this team. And thank you to everybody for welcoming the league as well.
Thank you, Shelley. And now that we've approved or recommended approval for the League of Women Voters to continue as a member, I hope that the league will continue to be represented. And then you can come back as a representative of the city. Want to do that?
There you go.
Sounds
we will
good.
have it. Thank you for that. We will definitely be. This is very important part of the league's mission is being a part of this committee. So we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'd like to thank Shelley too. This is Ann. And I joined the League of Women Voters when I was 25 and I'm now 85. I'm not an active member, but but it taught me so much, and they're just doing great work, and I'm glad they're represented on this group. And I hope Shelley will get appointed from somewhere else. She's very intelligent. Thank you.
She says,
Thank you, Ann.
I could see
And
it.
Shelley, this is Welling Clark. I just want to say, when I heard you talk about finances and things of that, going through these different budgets where they're allocating funding and all the questions you had. My dad was a CPA. Let's just say I'm very impressed by you. And I hope you are back on here in the near future.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is probably the nemesis of my job, the total opposite of what I would ever be, but thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Any other discussion? No
Madam
other
Chair,
secretly raised hands?
I was just going to mention Wendy Pettit from CDOT. I just wanted to express the thanks to the CAC for taking the time to move the transportation project forward. So just passing that along from Wendy Pettit.
Great. Thank you very much. Great tech support today. Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Items for next CAC meeting?
I did just want to bring up, and there's a schedule on the last page of your packet. The December meeting is scheduled for the 28th, which obviously falls in that holiday week. I know that sometimes CAC has chosen to move the meeting or perhaps cancel that meeting for that December time period. I just wanted to bring it up in case there was any discussion about moving or otherwise adjusting that.
Are there some issues that you folks will have that we need to address in that meeting?
There is potentially an additional tip amendment. We do have a notice of funding availability for PPACG funding or funding that we administer anyway, that just closed, and we may have a decision on it by that time period. I don't recall anything else that's pressing.
So if we didn't, if we canceled that meeting and then something came up, then we would have like an emergency meeting or something? Or
We could either potentially do an emergency meeting, or it would just go straight to the board, or depending on what it was, it would be delayed if it's not time sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Welling.
Just a question. Do you have a timeline of when you know that item might come up or a decision point?
We have a workshop with our Transportation Advisory Committee next week. So theoretically, I should know by the end of next week.
So maybe the end of next week, we could identify if we do need to hold a meeting or if we can postpone it and cover that in January or something like that gives flexibility to see if we can get something done, or if it's not really important, just delay it, do it later on. Does that make sense, ma'am?
That makes sense to me. Any comments, discussion about that idea?
I think that sounds workable.
Yeah, why don't we just kind of tentatively plan on not having a meeting, but in the next week or so, we'll know for sure if we need it. Because I don't want to slow down some important business unnecessarily. If we could scrape together a quorum, even if it's via Zoom, we could take care of important business, but if it can be put off, all the better. So why don't we plan that way? We'll assume we're not having a meeting, but be on alert. But we'll know within the next probably 10 days or so.
Chair, do we need a motion to that effect, or can you just make that ruling?
Oh, I don't know. What do you think, guys? Yeah. We're a flexible group. We're all volunteers. I
like the concept. I think it'd be the way to go, but I just want to make sure we do it the right way.
Yeah, that I appreciate that. What do you think, Danelle? Do we need to do some like official vote?
An official motion and vote would probably be wise.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so do I have a motion? Well, Welling's getting ready. Our microphone man there, we'll
Okay,
let him.
yeah, I'm challenged on the microphone. Welling Clark, El Paso County. I would make a motion that PPACG identify a date to send out a notice of whether the CAC needs to meet in December or can, for lack of a better word, forestall doing work until January. And please feel free to edit, and I'll take any wordage as a friendly amendment to change this.
Roy Rosenthal, I think you just add that there will be no meeting unless we learn otherwise.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Right, that there will not be a meeting in December unless notified by PPACG staff on a specified date. And I would, that, for December, and that we will conduct business in January. And that PPACG notify all members by that date. Maybe you can just send an email out to everybody.
How's that sound? Is that good enough? I think that he said it very well. Shall I have a second?
We're going to meet here in December if you don't.
Second. Second, yay, thank you. Sheila seconded it. All right, any additional discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Does that work for you too, Danelle?
That works. Thank you very much.
Considering it's now a to-do for you?
No, no problem at all. I do.
The next Friday probably be good afternoon.
Yes. Yes, I will. And
Change in that, feel free to notify if I recommend it
Mhm.
and say we're gonna schedule it up just for 2 more days. or something,
Yep.
whatever.
I will give you an update on the 9th of December.
Sounds good.
Like it.
Okay, do you have comments on the meeting and event schedule coming up over and above what we just talked about?
No, ma'am.
I don't think so. Well, I think we can adjourn.
Danelle, if
Oh.
I just want to make sure this group is aware, the board of directors has changed their monthly meeting date. So due to multiple conflicts with multiple members, they're meeting next Thursday at 9 a.m. as opposed to what normally would have been with the 14th at 9 a.m.
Next Thursday, what's the date?
Next Thursday, the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Jared.
Yep, not a problem.
And I had a quick question. When I was out of town, there was a plan to have a group photo of our committee. Did that ever happen?
It did.
Oh, boy. And I'm not in it, but that's okay.
Jared is our staff photographer as well.
One of his other many duties is assigned.
Could I loop back to the Board of Directors meeting? The listing here says it will meet the 8th at 9 a.m. What is the new date?
That is the new date. This
That
has
is
been
the new
updated.
Yeah, that was the updated date. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I got confused.
Because I think normally it would have been the 15th or something like that. Okay.
It's usually on
Wednesday.
The
Wednesday.
second Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second Wednesday.
Okay, I think we can adjourn. I don't know that we need a motion. We can say thank you all for coming and participating, and we'll see you next year, probably. Yes, have a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Meeting adjourned.